What's the most awkward conversation you've ever had with your parents? NSW. I'm the parent, but my son might answer this with the time we had a discussion about not wiping jizz on the back of my couch, and don't try to tell me it's glaze from donuts you were eating without a napkin. Having your mom tell you she has seen enough spudge in her day to know what she is looking at has to be awkward as frick. But seriously, wipe that crap on my couch again and I will end you. I was by my dad, who was reading a Polaniuk book. He turns to me and asks, "What's a glory hole?" "It's a glorious hole, Dad." My dad tried giving me the S-talk at 18. It was painful. My mom's name is Giselle, pronounced Giselle, and when my brother or I brought friends over she would introduce herself with, "Hi, nice to meet you, I'm Giselle, but you can call me Giz." Obviously all of our friends cracked up and she has no idea why, so we had to explain to her what Giz is and why she shouldn't be telling people call her that. My dad yelled for me to see a news program about my high school principal getting caught in a police sting for soliciting gay S in a park bathroom. He thought it was hilarious. After the news segment, he said, "What do gay people even do for S? Stare at each other's wieners," and then I left, because I wasn't going to explain gay S to my dad. You obviously put your butts against each other and poop back and forth forever. Age 14. Do you like girls? Are you gay? Age 16. You still in the closet? Age 18. You don't have to hide it from me. I accept you for what you are. Funny thing though, I'm not gay, I just never had a girlfriend. Literally everyone I knew, even my teachers, thought I was gay. Those conversations never ended well. When my dad showed me how to go down on a girl, I would imagine this was most awkward for the girl. Not a conversation, but watching the Wolf of Wall Street with my mom was pretty awkward. Saw this on Christmas Day sitting between both my parents at the theater. If it was possible to die from being uncomfortable, it would have been me in that moment. "Mom, we need to get you checked for dementia." I am terrified of this talk, but I can see it coming. My siblings agree and I have no idea how to go about it. Every time we even remotely hint at her forgetting things, she snaps and pushes back hard at us. Frick. When I was 15 and my mom asked me why I took such long showers. She knew why. She just wanted you to stop wasting water with your long showers. When I graduated boot camp and got to my training school, I asked my dad to mail out some civilian clothes. So I was on the phone with him as he's going through my dresser, when suddenly he goes, "Oh, I think I found something rather personal." I immediately knew he was referring to my giant pink vibrating dildo. I started apologizing profusely for not remembering where I put that and that he had to find his daughter's S toy. It got even worse when he said, "So you want me to send it out?" "No, Dad. Please. Please don't even touch it. If Giant Gorilla Dong is your username, I'm really curious to know what you named your dildo." After I told my parents I had a girlfriend, they panicked and asked me if I had already have S with her. I was 19 at the time, followed up by an awkward conversation about S and DSTs. My mum thought my bong was for crack. I had to demonstrate otherwise. My dad sitting me down and him giving me the birds and the bees talk when I was 11. We were religious and he used this book that talked about how masturbation made you blind and gay. "Dad, I'm over here." My mom's early boyfriends all turned out gay, and so I was like, "Well, I'd say you're the common denominator, but that would infer they're all tops." I then explained what a top was. Took me a sec to catch. Wasn't making sense reading in my head at first, but I think you meant imply. Oh man, had to be when I told them my girlfriend was pregnant. I challenged my old man to a game of chess like in the old days and broke it to him during. Was 19. He didn't seem super excited. I left my phone unlocked. My dad saw a bunch of STS I'd been sending. "So you like Latinos, huh? What are these diddlers doing in your drawer?" Is a straight man. They're for playing pranks. My mom once borrowed my phone when hers was being fixed. I was 15 at the time and she read the whole text convo between me and my current girlfriend talking about how we had S multiple times on her bed. I jaff if my future kids have S as long as it's safe and consensual, but if they ever did it on my bed I think I would be livid. Trying to convince my dad that the reason he's in a rehab nursing home is because he got drunk again and fell and broke his hip. He was so wasted that he didn't remember any of it. When I told my parents that I don't care if they like my wife, they'd dang well better respect her, and if they had a problem with that then they can invite themselves out of my and my children's lives. That was 3 or 4 years ago. Things are still a bit awkward. Last week I had to tell my mom that I was giving up on getting pregnant. She knew my husband and I had been trying. All her friends and cousins are grandmothers and I know she really wants that for me. Recently, my husband and I started the process of becoming foster parents. Her response? Maybe you should just try some more. No, mom. We have plenty of S. Please stop. That shut her up. The conversation where they made it perfectly clear they were aware that my upcoming sleepover at a friend's house would include me having S with him, and warning me to be careful. I obviously looked a bit blasé about it and my dad got annoyed and told me about the trouble my aunt had got into at a party when she was a teenager, and the consequences. And that's how I learned I've got a cousin out there somewhere who was put up for adoption. That doesn't sound very awkward. It sounds like what any sane parent would say. After flushing a ton of condoms down the toilet, my mom had to call a plumber and he explained that the drain was blocked and that condoms were the culprit. Turns out they inflate if you tie them. My mom then relayed the story to me, asked if I knew anything about it. It all went downhill from there. I dunno. She was probably glad it was you and not your dad. That could have been even more awkward. Me explaining to my mom that her son does not use the 8-inch long pink dildo she found in the bathroom. I got it at a dirty Santa party. My parents made me wake them up when I got home on Friday and Saturday nights in high school so they could check and make sure that I wasn't drunk or high. The most awkward conversation I had with them was the morning after I walked in on them freaking to explain to them that I would no longer be waking them up to check my eyes. We all agreed that was fine. Went to Amsterdam with my family. Upon reaching our loft, my dad immediately went to a pot cafe and returned with 4 joints. We gathered around the kitchen table and in utter silence smoked one. Once it was done, my mom began to butcher a parenting opportunity about using everything in moderation. My dad stood up and went to his room. I opened the fridge and stared inside and my younger brother laughed uncontrollably until he vomited on the kitchen table. My husband and I seem to have the same awkward conversation with his mother every few months. We have been together 15 years, have no kids, would love kids, but hey, it is what it is. Every few months, his mother offers to be our surrogate. We tell her that it's incredibly expensive and thanks but no. She says we don't need a lab or embryos. She can just turkey baste herself up. Yep, my husband is the ultimate golden child. So much so, that she wants to be pregnant by him. My husband has had to tell her about 6 times now that what she is suggesting is crazy, inappropriate and not to do it again. I've actually not had that many awkward conversations with my parents, but that one time when my mother told me that I should be more quiet while having S with my current boyfriend, that was painful to hear. Another painful conversation was when my sister accidentally found my S toys while looking for the old Nintendo that I kept in my room. My mom died 1.5 years ago. My dad is dating a nice woman who is tons of fun. He called me to tell me he met her and they were dating. He was nervous I would be mad that he was dating, but I was stoked for him. Then he says, "We haven't had S yet," which led to a 15-minute talk with him about how it's okay if he's not ready and if she's the right girl for him she'll be happy to wait. He's 70, I'm 30 and we're having a reverse birds and bees over Facebook chat. I am still laughing to myself about it. When I told my dad I found out he may have a daughter, she FBDM'd me. I have been an only child for 28 years. He confirmed, "Sorry, at work, edit." He went out of state for work when I was 3 for a couple weeks. My parents had been divorced for 1 year at that point. Fast forward to a few weeks ago, she says she now lives in the same city as he does and wanted me to know he has a daughter, 3 years younger than I am, and I should bring it up. I waited a couple days and casually, over the phone, "He doesn't live that close, Ed, so some girl messaged me saying she's your daughter." He got quiet and calm and explained that it's true. He had wanted to tell me the truth for years and it's been killing him not to have told me. It was mostly awkward since we're pretty close and he's always stressed the importance of being honest. My mom told me I was likely conceived in a mall bathroom. A food courtship. The most awkward was explaining how in the heck I managed to steal a fire hydrant. My dad wanted to murder me after that. I had this girlfriend and we were super frisky for each other. She had just recently gotten off her period and we were trying to sneak one in real quick. I left my boxes on just in case someone walked in on us. I went home and fell asleep. The next day I woke up and looked down at my boxers and noticed the whole front side was bloody. So I took them to my bathroom and soaked them in bleach water. Then I forgot about them. Trying to explain to my mom what happened was awkward to say the least. I told her I had a nosebleed in the middle of the night and grabbed the first thing I could find. She said, "You just happened to put your nose right in the crouch, ha ha ha." I fessed up and told her the truth. Back when my wife and I were just sort of dating, I was still living in Texas and she was in Washington. We were doing the long distance thing until I could get a transfer back to Washington. I was back in town visiting and we were at my parents' place a few hours away. I borrowed my parents' truck to take her out on a date. Well, being that it was long distance and we wanted to get down to business but obviously couldn't back at my parents' place because 1, they're Mormon and 2, the only bed we had was the pull-out bed in the middle of the living room. So we opted to just do it in the truck after our date. Super classy. Well, we fogged up the windows pretty good, so we drove around for a bit after to try to air out the smell and get the windows to clear up. The next day, she left to go back home and I stayed to hang out with my parents for another day or so. The next day, they were driving me back up to Seattle to meet up with her and head to the airport. It was during this drive, my dad decided to ask me, "When you were driving the truck, did you notice the windows being foggy at all? It's really weird. It looks like moisture was on the inside of the windows. You can see where it rolled down the window. Your mother and I had to wipe down all the windows. Did you notice anything they knew that I knew they knew?" I played dumb. Then I had to sit in the car with them for the next 3 hours. Not my parents but my GF's parents. We were playing Cards Against Humanity with them at one of her family party. Her parents bought it not knowing what it was. I got roped into playing by my GF and of course I was dealt basically all of the most terrible and disgusting cards in the deck. Her mom was the judge the first turn and pulled the card Bill Mays here for and I looked down at my cards. I can't remember what all of them were but they were all terribly gross. So I decided to play Pixelated B hoping they wouldn't know what it was. They didn't, but they were curious so they started asking everyone at the family party including my GF's grandma. My GF's mom eventually looked it up on her phone and read it aloud for everyone to hear. They asked who played it. I said me and said I didn't know what it was. I'm a terrible liar. We immediately stopped playing after that. We didn't even finish the first turn. Then for the rest of the party everyone that didn't hear her mom read it aloud kept asking me what it was. People shouldn't play Cards Against Humanity if they're not okay with that kind of stuff. Not my parents but my now wife. When we were courting parents, walked into their house and her dad greets me with "Alright big boy." Unassumingly I said "all good thanks" and went off to find my then girlfriend. Mentioned what her dad had said and she burst out laughing. Turns out she's very open about her life with her parents. Apparently she was a bit sore from the night before. Took a few weeks before I could look them in the eye. TLDR, you have a large penis. My mom walking in on me post-fap at like 17, as I lie there gathering my shame, dips her finger in the CM puddle a few feet away from me and asks me, "What is this sticky stuff? Dear God." Mom looks in my wallet for some reason, finds a condom. "What exactly is this?" Realizes it's a condom. "Why would you need this? You're not married yet." Nearly pee myself laughing. I'm 17 for reference. Telling my parents I remembered being sexually abused by a family friend at 5. They were aware of it, but they thought I'd forgotten because I was so young. Apparently I wasn't the only one. Long story short, no charges were pressed because the only people who would be negatively impacted were his parents. I respect them for that, and I also respect them for not trying to talk about since they thought I wasn't aware. But goddamn, the acceptance of reality was very hard for me to deal with. I still have trust issues because of the whole situation. This winter break I was telling my parents about how, after 2.5 years, I am still unhappy at college. My dad's core thesis was that I just needed to get laid and then I'd be happier. I then had to explain to him, while my mom was listening, how Tinder and modern dating apps work and how much often I was getting laid. This discussion of modern causal S, specifically my S life, included questions like, is there foreplay? He was amazed at the whole situation, speechless. You have been visited by the chunk of good fortune. Like this post to enable good fortune for 26 minutes. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check out another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day, you magnificent people.